So today we'll be looking at climate change. We'll be looking at what is climate change, the causes of climate change. We're going to be examining the causes because some climate scientists are saying that climate change is a natural phenomena, while some other climate scientists are saying that climate change is a human-induced phenomena. So we're going to be examining the causes of climate change, and we're going to see if it can be both or it is just one of the above. So let us get into it. First, we'll start off by defining climate change. Climate change is a measure of climate, such as temperature, rainfall, and wind lasting for a long period of time. So if you realize your temperature, wind, and rainfall are all elements of climate, and climate scientists are seeing a change in these elements of weather. And they are saying that as a result of the changes in these elements of weather, they have triggered a climate change phenomena. All right, so one such change that climate scientists have put forward thus far is that they are seeing at least an average temperature increase of 1 degrees Celsius across the world. So they're saying that the earth is warming, and you would have heard about the concept global warming. Then they're also seeing changes in rainfall pattern and wind pattern. And locally, we can relate to these changes, as in Jamaica, we are seeing extended periods of drought, and we are having water lock off and so on, so that we can conserve this precious commodity, and so that we don't run out before another rain event. So climate change is a change in the measure of climate, temperature, rainfall, wind, lasting for a long period of time. So now that we understand that climate change is a change in the weather patterns, really, or in the climate, in Earth's climatic patterns, that's a better way to express it. Let us now look at who is responsible for climate change. So one major factor that is responsible for climate change is natural variations, right? And natural variation influence Earth's climate through natural causes, such as one, volcanic eruption, as indicated here, ocean currents, Earth orbital changes, solar variation, and also internal variations. We are going to look at volcanic eruptions in detail and try to establish how volcanic eruptions are responsible for a change in climate. So the main effect volcanoes have on Earth's climate change is a cooling effect. This is so as they pump out clouds of dust and ash. And what does this cloud and ash does? It blocks out sunlight, right? This cooling effect is very short term. Volcanic debris, which include sulfur oxide, and these sulfur dioxide gases are gas combined with water vapor and dust in the atmosphere reflects sunlight away from Earth, right? So therefore, this now will result in a more cooling effect on Earth. These particles are small, therefore they can remain in the atmosphere for a long period of time, which will trigger climate change. So here we have learned that the volcanoes can provide or cause a cooling effect on climate. Let us look at the human-induced causes of climate change. So, Industrial Revolution, right, is said to be responsible for climate change. And this is because as a result of the Industrial Revolution, men started to use fossil fuel as a main energy producer to run these factories. And the Industrial Revolution resulted in a large growth in factories and these factors were using fossil fuel as a main energy source. Fossil fuels now, according to climate scientists, are said to be responsible for the large percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is said to be a major trigger to climate change. Of the West Indies Climate Studies Group MONA, human influence on climate change is clear, and this is evident from increasing greenhouse gases concentration. And remember, I said earlier, these greenhouse gases concentrations can be dated back to the Industrial Revolution and the use of fossil fuels as a main energy source. Causes of climate change can be natural induced or natural caused, or they can be human induced. And one major human induced cause is the use of fossil fuel. And the Industrial Revolution is not the only contributor to climate change. When we look at our transportation industry, we tend to use a lot of fossil fuels. Also in our homes, we use fossil fuel as a source to provide our energy. And also the use of things like chlorofluorocarbons and so on emit gases which are called greenhouse gases, and what these gases do is that they trap solar radiation, and in trapping solar radiation they cause the earth to warm up. So you realize for the natural cause, the one explained here, can provide a cooling effect, and for the human induced cause, the one explained here, can provide a heating effect. So this has established that climate change is not only an increase in temperature in that it's causing a warming effect only, but also climate change can also be associated with cooling effect. One climate scientist defined it as extremities in weather. So it's either getting very hot or it's either getting very cold. All right, thank you for listening. I'll do another video on how humans are contributing to climate change. So look out for that next video. And I'll also do one on the impacts of climate change on the Caribbean, and I'll look specifically at the Caribbean.